Hi friends, Stephanie here, and I'm back with more movie chatter. And what I have for you today are 10 horror movies that are remakes that I think are worth the watch. And I know I'm kind of flipping the script on the video I did the other day, which I will link right up here, and that was horror movies that should never have a remake. So if you thought that I was categorically against remakes, that is not the case. They just have to be good, they have to bring something new, and it has to be worth the watch. And I think these do just that, so I'm going to get right into it. My first one is called Nasferatu the Vampire. It's a Werner Herzog film, and this is a remake of the original Nasferatu, which is a black and white silent film. And the first thing this one does is it adds dialogue. So right there is an element that it adds to make it worth giving it a look. And the dialogue is very good. It's in German with English subtitles, but there is also an English dub version for those of you who don't want to read subtitles. But I think the story that it tells is really great. I think that the characters are great. Nasferatu is absolutely terrifying. The makeup is great. The on-screen chemistry is great. The story is great. And I love, love, love the atmosphere that they create in this film, because I am a big fan of gothic horror, folk horror, all that. But I also love the Nasferatu story. And I think what this film does right, one of many things, is that it really strikes a nice balance between like that folk horror atmosphere and the traditional Nosferatu story. It's just woven in there seamlessly, and it's such a great balance of the original and the remake. It just works. Everything about this is fantastic. So if you haven't seen this, I highly, highly recommend it. And I've seen this many times, but I watched it the other night getting ready for this video, and I really, really enjoyed it. I was in from minute one. I was in, and I think this is just a really, really solid remake. Now this next one holds a very special place in my heart, and I will explain to you why. It is David Cronenberg's remake of The Fly, and this one is from 1986. And I will tell you that in 1986 I was quite young, and that was when I saw this when it came out. I'm not sure if I rented it from Blockbuster or if I saw it on cable. I know I didn't see it in the movies, but somehow I saw it, and I saw it with friends. We were all horror fans, and we were screaming and yelling through the whole thing. I think Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis are fantastic in this. I love the whole story of The Fly. I love the transformation. It is beyond disgusting, the transformation of Jeff Goldblum into The Fly. I think it is just like next level. I think the special effects are great. Everything about this just works. And the gore factor is off the charts, especially for a bunch of kids in 1986. Yeah, it was off the charts for us. But the whole time I'm watching it, I didn't know there was an original. So it wasn't until years later that I saw the original. But I have to say, this one still holds up for me. It still holds a special place in my heart, and it always will. And if you want to see a really, really good remake of a great original, definitely check out David Cronenberg's The Fly, because you will not be disappointed. It's fantastic. And this next one, this one scared the life out of me. I'm going to take the slipcover off because it's lenticular and it looks weird when I hold it back this far. But this is the 2003 remake of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Now, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I think it is one of the most important, influential horror films ever. It is a top tier film for me. I think it's great. I love that it's grimy, it's gritty. It has the whole Leatherface thing that, you know, we never saw anything like that. The thing about it is, it didn't really scare me that much. I thought it was anxiety inducing, and like I said, you had the gritty, grimy, grainy thing, and you know, the old farmhouse, and you've all seen it, I'm sure, so you know what I'm talking about. And I don't even like to watch it in 4K because I like that gritty, grimy, grainy look of the like the more filmic look of it. But when this one came along in 2003, this just takes that story and ramps it up 10 notches. It is so scary, it is so gory, it is so terrifying. I think this is like, really, if you're going to do a remake of the Texas Chainsaw, you better do a good job. And I think they did a really good job. I think everything about this was completely, they took it and turned it on its head. It is scary, it is gory, it is terrifying, it's anxiety inducing. Everything about this just took it to a whole new level. I was not afraid at all of the original. This terrified me. I watched it with a friend. I've told this story before, but if you're new to the channel, here you go. watched it with a friend, and when we got done watching it, we were supposed to go out and walk her dog, and neither one of us wanted to leave the house because we were so terrified after watching this. But I just think this is a winner, and it gets me every time. This one and The Strangers. Strangers isn't a remake, but this one and The Strangers, they get me every time. So if you haven't seen the 2003 Texas Chainsaw Massacre and you want to see something wild, check that one out. Now this one, don't get upset with me because you've seen me wear the Suspiria shirt. You know I'm a huge fan. It is probably, that and Deep Red are my two favorite Dario Argento films. I am a diehard fan, but I think the 2018 remake of Suspiria is well worth a watch. The cast, Dakota Johnson, Tilda Swinton, Mia Goth, and Chloe Grace Moretz, I think they're fantastic. I think the story that this tells is fantastic. I love that it does something different. It stays true to the original, but in a different way. It's very much a standalone story. It can stand on its own merit, and I think that it's worth watching. Even if you love the 1977 one, just go in with no expectations if you've been reluctant to watch this one. Because I think that it has the creep factor, it has all the scares, it has all the weirdness, it has all the things that you love in a horror movie, and Suspiria in particular, and it has some nods to the original, but I also think it's a very original remake, and I love that. It's worth watching because it's something different, but it still has nods to the original, and that is something that I look for, and I really, really enjoyed this. I thought the acting was great, I thought the storytelling was great, and I just really enjoy everything about this. So I think Suspiria is, it's well worth a watch. And like I said, I think it stands on its own merit, and I think it's a solid one. So if you've been reluctant to watch it, give it a chance and kind of just go in open-minded and see what you think. And this next one, I think it's a great remake. Tim Curry will always be, I think, the scariest Pennywise, but you can't deny that Bill Skarsgård was really good in the remake of It, and I think this is really fantastic. This is the first one. I did see this in theaters, and I think it was great. Not that I mean, I love the miniseries. It's sitting right there on my shelf, and I do enjoy that one, but I thought this was really good. I thought it was a really nice modernization of the story. I love the cast. I love the dynamics and the on-screen chemistry with the kids that they picked. I think they did a great job with the casting, the storytelling. Like I said, Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise. I think everything about this just works, and I think it's a really good retelling of the original. I think it's great. I think it's well worth the watch, and I think it's worth the praise that it got. I think it was very well accepted by audiences, even people who were diehard fans of the original. So I think that says a lot about a remake when it's accepted by people who were fans of the original. But I think they did a really good job on this one, and I think this one, I think it was in 2017, I'm not sure, but yeah, I think, yeah, it was 2017, but I think this is really, really a solid remake. The second one, I'm kind of I think we could have just stopped here, but this one, solid all the way. Now, the next one, I think this one's really good, and again, doesn't take away anything from the first one. We know what the first one is, and we love it for what it is, but the Evil Dead remake, I think this was just really good. I think it was a great modern retelling of the story. There's a different reason that they end up at the cabin. There's different people. It's a whole different dynamic as far as why they're there, what they're doing. And if you've seen this, you know what I'm talking about. But when you're talking about like how wild it gets and the gore and everything that they put into this, the scares, I think it's very, very effective, and I think it's a great remake, and I think it has great nods to the original, just like a few of the other ones, but I think it's definitely a remake that does its own thing. It's still Evil Dead. It's still got that core feeling of Evil Dead, but it takes it to a new level, and I really like that about this one, and I think it's a really, really solid remake, so Evil Dead had to make my list. And this next one, I think this is a really good remake too, and this is the remake of The Blob. Now, don't get me wrong, I love the original. I think it was campy, it was fun, it was great sci-fi. It was a great sci-fi movie. But then when you take it up to date, when we have better special effects and they ramp up the story, I think that this is a really good remake, and it is a solid refresh of the original, and I really do like the remake of The Blob. And I'm a fan of the original Blob, but I love all the classics like 50s, 60s, 70s horror. I love all that, but I think this was a really solid remake. I think they did a really good job. I think the scares are effective. I think the whole blob thing is a little scarier, just a little bit scarier in this one, and I think it works. I think it works to the movie's advantage, and I think it's a solid remake. So if you've been reluctant to check out the remake of The Blob, I say give it a chance, and now you can even see it in 4K. The Blob in 4K. And this one, I know some people got really upset with me when I did my collection tour and I said that I really like this one, but I do. And it is the remake of The Crazies. And I know The Crazies, George A. Romero's The Crazies, is held in very high regard because, first of all, it's a George A. Romero film. How can you not hold it in high regard? And it's a great movie. I just really enjoyed this one. I thought it was really, really solid. And I like the pacing of this one. I like the story in this one. It's just something about it feels ramped up. And everything's a little more scary, a little more tense, a little more brutal, a little more gruesome, and that's what I was looking for in a remake. I didn't want them to reinvent the wheel. I just wanted them to give me something new, upgraded, maybe get me a little more on the edge of my seat, and I think this one did that. So I think The Crazies is definitely worthwhile as far as a remake. I think it's worth a watch. So it's a good one. And this next one is really great too. It stars Donald Sutherland, Brooke Adams, Leonard Nimoy, Jeff Goldblum again, and Veronica Cartwright in Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And I think this is another one. It just takes a film that was a great sci-fi campy type film and it brings it more into the present. It's just a refresh. It's scarier. The effects are better. I think the on-screen chemistry between all the characters are great. I think the story's great. And I think the big thing with modernizing these classics is that you're adding elements that maybe they didn't have available in the time when they made the original movies. So you're definitely going to add more gore, more scares, more special effects that are a little more realistic, and I just think it brings the movie more into the present day, and I think that right there makes it worth a watch. So I think they're both worthy, but I just think that this one, because it's newer, brings it up to a new level, and I think Invasion of the Body Snatchers is fantastic. And this last one, this one really, really surprised me, and it is the remake of Child's Play. I never thought in a million years I would like this one, but I really, really liked it. I just liked that it was a different take on a classic. I thought that, I think Child's Play, the original Child's Play, is fine. I think it's great. It's a killer doll. What's not to like? But I like that they brought this into the present day and they added things that would bring a new audience in, and I still think it stayed true to the original story. I still think that the core elements were there, and it's just really a modernized retelling of the really good classic story that we know and love. So I think this one works, and I thought it was so much better than it had any business being, and it surprised me. This one really, really surprised me, and I think it was just I just think it was so much better than I ever expected it to be. So if you've been reluctant to check out the remake of Child's Play, I don't think you're going to be disappointed. Even if you're a diehard Child's Play fan, I think you will appreciate the touches that they add to modernize the classic. And I think that this one was really well done. So I was happy with it. So those are 10 horror movies that are remakes that I think are worth a watch. So hopefully you'll give a look to a few of them, if not all of them. And I want to thank you as always for watching these videos. You know I appreciate each and every one of you taking time out of your day to watch these. And like I said, I hope you find a few things to watch. And if you like things like this, along with collection updates, movie reviews, hauls, all kinds of things, we do the things here. We do everything physical media here. Consider subscribing. Hit the bell notification so you know when I'm going to upload again, which I have to put my schedule up. I'm doing the live stream tomorrow with Cinema Dave over on his channel, 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, where we are every Saturday. Come over and join us or catch us on the replay. So that's going to do it for me. I am going to go upstairs, eat some dinner, play with my girls, and watch a movie. So for now, that's a wrap.